Alright, we are live. Trying to get my phone set up here. It's a little crooked. There we go. There we go. Just gonna walk around here a little bit. What do you think, Johnny? Huh? We just finished concreting in a little bit. So we got wet concrete in here. You can see where it's kind of stuck in, but we've raised the wall up quite a bit. We still got a little bit more to do, probably like 2 or 3 more layers in there to do. But the creek walls are almost done. We've got that creeked in all the way. Pond is pretty much concreted in. We still got to get in and smooth it out. We got to do some sanding a little bit on the inside before we pond shield it. We'll go in and make sure there aren't any holes we need to patch up. Stuck the hose in there. That's where the pump will be. It'll be not on the ground, but once we pond shield everything, we will we'll put the sand and the silt and the clay in the bottom. Get it ready for its first water. But we'll probably run water before we put the sand, silt, and clay in. That would be a good idea. But I want to put a rock or a log down there to put the pump on. And then that will pump water up into this area here. Yeah, what's up everybody? Appreciate you stopping by. That hose runs out right there. It'll shoot up and out into that pocket. It'll swirl around up in that hole there, come back, flowing down. Here's the area that I am wondering about. Hello, hello. Camerata, hello. Chris, yeah. What's up, man? Yeah, we gotta keep the sediment out of the pump. We've got a saltwater aquarium pump. Actually, I just got it the other day. This is a wave technology DC aquarium. It is a monster of a pump, 1-inch tube. Yeah, 1-inch tube coming out, has 20 different settings. Same pump we have over here running this one. So this one over here has multiple settings. We're on 10 right now. Usually we're on like 7 or 8. It'll go all the way up to 20. But I find that 7 to 8 is about where we want to be for this size this size tank and size pond. This one over here is a little bit bigger than that one over there, not by much, just a little wider and a little, maybe about, depending on how much sand, silt, and clay I put in the bottom, will determine how deep it is. But, I'm thinking we're going to have at least 4-inch. So it'll be at least 18 inches deep, 20 inches deep. So we're going to definitely have some different spots to come in. So what I'm going to do is basically, as it flows down, you can see how it kind of levels off here, and then it'll speed up a little bit more around the corner. But you can see how deep it is here, and like a little bit, it's wider than the rest of the. So I want most of the speed coming down the hill, and then entering into here, turning the corner, and then dropping in over there. So we've got a lot of work to do before we can even run water. So in order to get water to come up over, we'd have to fill this whole thing up, and then once we fill this in, put maybe some logs in it, some rocks in there. We're gonna set some different style rocks like this here. You can see how this is kind of curved, and water will run up in here and swirl around. That's what I was looking at when I got into that one. This one here is just kind of flat. This one here can set in a corner and let that water turn the corner. So the water can hit here and, you know. And we've got this one, looks like a damn moon rock. And we got some circular ones. Perfectly round ones. I found this one in the cobblestone. This one was pretty cool. Like it's been mashed together by the earth. But that'll come after we do everything. Yeah, exactly. It's going to do what it wants. It's going to do what it wants, but we can also divert. Once I see what it wants to do, then I can go in and make it do what I want it to do. Over here, we got ladies in day 5 of flower. They are going to take over the whole bed. That one, that raspberry deadhead over there is going to blow up the whole garden pretty much. One is in the middle. We're gonna, you know, I try to keep everything as short as possible by keeping out the red light, the red spectrum, and the Grandmasters. I just added the red. You can see the red center diodes there. That is from me adding in the red. So I've got everything written down. I always keep good records of where and what I'm doing. So this is basically 4 channels on the Grandmasters. So you got one is the cool white, 2 channel is the warm white, then you've got the red, and then far red or deep red, whatever you want to call it. I don't have any deep red in right now. I just added the red 5 days ago in flower, lowered the intensity. We're only pulling 234 watts of power. It's on, all 3 lights are connected. Got the pulse meter monitoring everything up in my face. This is your first time in here. This is what the pond looks like. We've got 2 turtles and a goldfish and a slider and algae eaters, a couple of mollies. There's Pooter. We rescued Pooter from bait and tackle shop. The bait and tackle dude tried to tell me it was a bullhead minnow, and I was like, that ain't a bullhead minnow. That's a goldfish. They're selling goldfish. Well, they'll take one. It's like a buck. I don't even think it was that. It turned into a beauty. And we got Cooter and Scooter, which is our slider turtles. See Scooter right down there. Yeah, here she comes. She usually comes on up when I up there's Cooter. That's Cooter and Scooter. So the whole system is, like I said, if you're new, this is a horizontal soil system. This is completely indoors. It's set up just like this one here. It's got a pond liner basically in the and then it's sand, silt, and clay layers, which the creek and the pond all sit on top of. Just like this one's in a box over here, except I skipped the box and just went all rock this time and just used the pond liner as my box. And then you can flow as much water as you want down into the horizontal system, down into the reservoir. What's up, Johnny boy? You can get as much water as you want, as long as it doesn't come up over top of the box, which we have a, get down, buddy. We have a hole over here, which we got an elephant ear growing, but this goes down to the floor, and there's no water down there right now. See if I can get it to zoom in there, but that's the floor. Now, when I cut the plants out, all that extra water goes rushing down to the reservoir. So right now, all the plants are basically, the soil is wicking water up out of the bottom of the reservoir. All the excess water that's being wicked up by the creek. See how wet it stays, or how moist it stays. Those worm castings extend all the way over into the soil bed. And all you have to do is go a little bit underneath here. You can see the top dries out a little bit. Just under that, you can see the moisture. That's what the critters and all that need. They need all the... This is just a filter pad that I sometimes set into the creek. And we bring it up here and let the critters run through it. See the worms and the isopods all go through that algae. They're eating that algae. You got earwigs and springtails, rove beetles, all these different types of things. And we just chop and drop all the leaf matter goes right back into the soil. Doesn't take them long to break it down. As long as you chop it up. This is from Luna Whitcomb. These are lunar cheese. This is lunar cheese, raspberry deadheads from Luna. And then we've got one from OK Calyx. This is his orangeline. Cherry Grande times peach pistols. And the raspberry deadheads are like deadhead OGs crossed with lunar cheese. So I've got the lunar cheese, then I've got a raspberry OG crossed with lunar cheese, which is raspberry deadhead. These are beautiful plants. I mean, they're just, I haven't done really no training whatsoever, just finger plucking. You can see I take fingers and some leaves, but I'm very picky with the leaves that I take. Let's go over here and look at this one. This is the monster. Look at the, you know what that is? That's what that is. That is a dandelion. Yeah. Look at this. That thing is stretching, boy. It's not a male, it's a dandelion. It just went crazy. It said, I want light too. And it shot a flower straight up through from the ground all the way up. Look at that. Past the daggone cannabis plant. I'm not going to let it flower. I just wanted to see, I just wanted to see how big it would get. And every morning I come in here and it's a couple inches longer. The elephant ears over here, we're going to have to take a few of these probably because they're going to start to intrude. You can see this one over here is just starting to take my light from the creek, which actually taking it from the creek ain't too bad because stops the algae from growing. You can see the roots. Those are roots from the lucky bamboo. And it is no relation to bamboo. It's just an aquatic plant that they sell at aquarium shops. Cheap. So one of the first, I put 3 of them in here. That was, you can see the cut down there. That was the cut that I put in. Then it grew that, and then it grew that one, which is like a damn corn stalk. And then I got one over there, and then we got another one back there. Funny thing is, the one over there is the shortest one. And then this one here is a little bit shorter than this one over here. And I think that's due just because this one's getting all the nutrient. Like everything that's connected up here is getting all that nutrient coming from the pond first, grabbing it up. Just like this dog fennel, which keeps just getting crazier and crazier, which we just keep pulling. And the more I pull off of it, it seems that the more it's like, yes, thank you. I shall grow 10 feet more. This is great. You can notice that it's no pest damage. I mean, nothing really messes with the dog fennel, but critters seem to eat it up because it's nice and fine. It smells kind of like mint, or like a peppermint almost, kind of like what you'd find in a lot of essential oils, a lot of pest, like Lost Coast Plant Therapy, for instance, uses peppermint. Has a lot of peppermint in it. Look at that. It's got that oily, like, peppermint smell. And you can see I just laid this elephant ear right on the ground there. Normally I always chop up my leaves, but this is only one that I'm going to lay here. The reason I'm doing that is just to kind of see how long it takes for that to shrivel up. But it'll also hold moisture underneath there and allow the breakdown process happen that much faster. As long as we don't stack these on top of one another. Like I would never pluck all these off and stack them without chopping them up. Like I always got to chop and drop. The Morse colony, you look like, yeah. Yeah, you could, I mean, that's kind of the hope here. Like the hope here is, like, once I get the food garden going, I'll be able to go over there and take a fish. Like I'm going to have crappie and bluegill, which are 2 of the freshwater fish that I can go down here on the reservoir here and catch. And I can probably spawn and get them to breed in here, especially the crappie, if I can get like 2 or 3 or 4 of them. I love actually crappie. It's one of the few freshwater fish that I like to eat out of the reservoir here, because the bass just aren't. I don't like eating largemouth bass. If you can ever catch catfish down there are catfish down there. I'll eat those, but my favorite is the crappie. And we can grab a crappie, harvest some herbs, like maybe tomatoes, cherry tomato. Who knows? We get crazy in here. I'm crazy, so I'll have cucumber vines running everywhere. I'll have beans. I'll have it'll get carrots, everything. Onions, carrots, all these different things. I'll just fill the whole, it'll look like this. I'll fill the whole damn place up. I'm just kind of dumb like that. I was getting ready to take this one too. We were gonna take one of these. Actually, I probably should take this one up here because it's just taking up my light from my buddy down there. But anyway, we need to chop and drop this. Pull it off. Look how big this thing is. they're monsters. So plus I need the aeration. You see how much that opened up? So this is something I'll just chop up. I will not lay this right there on the, I mean, I already did one small one. But what I'll do is just lay it here for now. You can see it, damn thing almost takes up the whole plants. We'll chop that up with grandma's shears. And yeah, that's all I got to do. Got Johnny over here laying on the floor. What's up, Johnny boy? And we are going to stack some more rocks. We got to go get them, but we're almost done with our sidewall. We're going to get that sidewall up above the creek wall. So we still got probably 2, maybe 3, depending on the size of the rock. We're going to get it up here. And that way we'll have a little bit of a slope, we'll have a little bit of an edge, you know, like over here. We want the rock wall to come up past the soil. I don't want soil all the way up here. I like soil to come up to about here. That way you get that box, you know, that box effect with the rock. It is a container, so we want to contain all the soil. You can see we have air pockets. These air pockets are important. So we don't have anything through there, but every once in a while, it's boom, we get a couple of air pockets. And then you come around, and you'll get some more air pockets over there. You get a couple more over there. This is going to be bringing the air in, sidewalls, allowing some air to get to that soil. But other than that, it'll be aerated from the wicking action from the water. The water will be aerating so much coming down through this. We're going to create a nice, quite a few drops. The water is going to be turning a lot, creating dissolved oxygen in the water, which will be wicked up onto this, over the creek wall by the sand and the silt and the clay that we stack up on top, and then bring that into the soil where that moisture can then be wicked, be pulled by the water, by the soil. The soil will then latch on to that sand and silt and wick that water. See how that water line is all, I mean, the water's way down here. It comes up the wall, over the wall, into the soil. You can see the line right there. There's a worm casting, but if you go just under, look at that. They're all down there just doing their thing. So they're what aerates everything. We don't really need to aerate. You don't see any perlite. You don't see, I would never put perlite in here, but like there is no perlite. It's just all aerated by isopods and worms and all the soil food web that's going on down here. That's what we focus on, is soil food web. So as long as our critters are happy, the plants usually stay pretty happy. As you can see, I've just been doing some fingering. It's time for this one to go. So that's going to open up this. But I leave the other, the rest. These are solar panels. These still work. Just because I plucked that off doesn't mean these stop working. So instead of taking the whole leaf, like I'll just do that, like, a little a day. Keeps the herm away, you know what I mean? It allows just that much more photosynthesis to take place, and that's what we're looking for. These plants feed themselves, That's how this works. We really don't have to feed the plant. The plant is feeding itself with the light. That's photosynthesis. Now, foliar feeding, I do like the foliar feed. They like to feed, they love, especially these cannabis plants, they love to eat. But they create their own sugars. And as long as they stay healthy and the soil's healthy, they will produce those sugars and share that sugar with the soil microorganisms in that rhizosphere down there. And he'll pump out that sugar, feeding our microorganisms, which in turn will then turn around and mine that sand and silt, which then turn around and feed back to the plant. It's an exchange. Like you always hear about an exchange system, the banker system. That's all this is done. It's a sharing system. The plant is taking that and making sugar. Pretty cool. What do you think, Peter? You be making shit. That's what you make. Cooter too. You making that sweet, sweet fertilizer we need. Look how healthy these. I mean, look how bright orange Pooter is. It's just water quality, really. I mean, there is no algae. You know, there's no. It runs itself, literally. I mean, it cleans itself. It runs itself. At this point, we don't have to do anything. It's really all about setting it up at the beginning. The foundation is key. Allowing that biology to adjust itself. It will fix itself as long as we don't go fucking with it too much. That elephant ear over there is gone. it's freaking crazy. I don't know what I'm gonna do over there. I'm gonna have to. Let me get some of this out of here. Like this leaf here, we're gonna pull out. This finger here, we're gonna pull out. This finger back here, we're gonna pull out. I want as much energy. So that's basically what I run off of in my mind. I'm just thinking I want as many leaves to stay on this plant as possible all the way through it, but I also want to aerate and I want the light to penetrate. So in order for that to happen, I have to remove some of these fingers. And I believe that's why, this cannabis plant is, yeah, it's in a garage. Yeah, I'm in a 500 square foot garage. I just converted it into this. We moved into this house 3 years ago, and none of my vehicles fit in it. It was built in 1949, so it was really small. And it never was used to house vehicles. It was always housing farming stuff. So I just gutted it, and I laid floor down before I knew I was going to do all this. I wish I had not have laid the floor down. Johnny likes it though, but we spent $3,000, $3,500 laying the floor down just to fuck it up. But it is what it is. What time is it? Let's see here. The lights go out at 6 o'clock. There we go. Hold on, let's zoom down a little bit. Oh, nice, 9:06. Yeah, appreciate you joining. Yeah, I've just been walking around here, just kind of explaining the little thing. I've been in here sweating. We've been through some concrete down in here today. Oh, so you can see we brought sidewalls up and out a little bit, so we've got a lot of room here now. So I know it's hard to tell, but all this is going to be soil on top of that clay. Let's see how deep it is right now. Right now it's 21 inches from top of the clay layer. So that'll be all soil. It'll be 21 inches of soil from all the way around. So plenty of soil. We got 16 inches from the corner there. And then we'll have about 18 inches in that corner. All the way around, we'll have soil. We'll have a good 16 inches and then 18, 20 inches deep. So plenty of room to just boom, boom, boom. We can have carrots over here. We have celery. We can have onions. We can have all that in that little square right there. We can have herbs. We can have a tomato plant. We can have squash. Squash take up a lot. Then over here in the middle, same depth. It's about, of course, it's a little narrower up there than it is here, but that's about 16 inches. The cool thing is that I had to build this. I was space confined, but also I need to be able to reach everything. So I can stand here and reach over here, and get to things and move things. I can come over here. I can get to the middle from here. I can just reach over here and get in here. I can reach anywhere in the pond. I can reach over there. I can go around the back and come in from the back and reach in. I can go all the way up into there. So this was the design that I came up with, being able to still have space to come in here and walk around. Johnny can lay here and get in my way. He don't care. We can still come up in here, and get to everything. This is going to be the transition area. This is going to be where we're going to fill all this in with soil. So the soil will come all the way up into here. And then we'll fill this more in with soil. This needs more soil anyway. We're going to bring that up. And then we'll have a bridge kind of that comes, like this will all be soil. Then the bridge will kind of start here. And it'll just be a little wooden bridge or log or something, a flat log that comes across into here where the turtles can get in and out. And then we'll create, the aquascape. Get in there and put some logs in where they can zigzag their way on up. Or I seriously doubt, like, they can come through this hole here. They can come in down through here. So that's how Digger gets in and out. And the turtles can come up. They do come up and sit right here. I see Scooter sitting here on that rock all the time. She'll just slide off. I have not seen her cross through, but never know. Once we start this up and that water starts to circulate and she hears it, they may work their way on over here. But we'll make it to where they can't fall out. We'll make sure they won't be able to fall out. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up on the comments. Sorry. Only from the top of the stream. Well, the water enters the soil from the bottom up, so it gets wicked up from the bottom, and it also comes in from the top. So that same sand, the same sand, silt, and clay we put in the creek, comes up over into the soil. This is pulling moisture. You can actually see it. You can see it. The worms turn all that into worm cast. So all of this that you see, that black goo, all that black soil, that used to be sand, silt, clay that was in the creek. And the worms run through it, but it continues to wick water. And it will wick water right on up into the soil. So you see, I don't water this. It stays moist. See, that's dry there, but just underneath there, that's all moist. You see the worms it stays moist. There's a worm right there, but I don't like touching it. Like, I don't like messing with it. That's the key to keeping aeration, is not pushing down on your worm casting. Worm castings are balls. They're tiny little balls. And when they come out, they stack on top of each other. They stack, tick, 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 tick. And that is aeration. When you stack balls, you get aeration pockets. When you go pushing down on that, messing with it, you crush those little balls and close that air gap there. You got to think micro, you got to think small, tiny. You know, these are, so all these worm castings turn into that there. And you can see the gaps. See all those air gaps? That's what we're looking for. It stays wet. It wicks water constantly. And the cool thing about nature is, see, man's trying to figure out how to hold water, how to hold moisture. Nature did all this billions of years ago, millions of years ago. You know what I mean? That, like, it holds the perfect amount of water. The sand, silt, clay, organic matter that builds up along the edges. The worms break it down. The critters shit it out. It becomes microbe rich, nutrient rich. Everything that was trapped in that sand and the silt and the clay is broken down and a plant available. The roots from the plants tap in on their short little lives that they're in here. They're only in here for a few months, and then we simply cut the plant, leave the roots, cut the plant, and plant right beside it. And we just boom, 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 boom. We can get 4 or 5 runs a year in here. I'm hoping to do the same with the food. And that's kind of how the whole mindset is for me, is just being able to come in here. I'll be able to grab a fish, I'll be able to grab a tomato, I'll be able to grab some onions, I'll be able to grab some herbs, some celery, some you know, whatever I have in here. Cherry tomatoes, I'll be able to have a salad, I'll be able to cook a fish, I'll be able to have the whole protein meal, boom, right there at my fingertips year round. I could literally cut my grocery bill in half, I'm hoping, by simply growing what I eat right here. It's just me and my wife, so what I'm hoping I can do is grow enough food for me and her to come in here and have at least dinner every night. We're going to have some chickens outside, you know, we're going to have, you know, I don't have anything right. We've only been here for a few years, so, you know, this is my project right now. I've been focusing in on this mainly because that's just where we landed. You know what I mean? This wasn't a dream of mine to have. This came about through a lot of research and a lot of just passion for wanting to bring my fish, my aquarium. You know, I've had saltwater aquarium, I've had freshwater aquariums. We got a pond outside that we're getting ready to tear down and redo. But, you know, it's just, I wanted, and then I found out about the horizontal soil system, and I was like, holy shit, that's the key. Like, we can literally use the horizontal system and treat it just like we would outdoors. Like you would build a pond outdoors with the pond liner and just bring it inside. And the horizontal soil system allows us for that water to stay and sit. And it's really about setting it up properly. So once you get the horizon, the E horizon down at the bottom, a good 6-7 inches thick, deep, put that clay on top, put soil on top of that. That clay layer is going to separate that soil from the water, but not keep the water there. Like it actually wicks water up. So we will not put soil in here until we fill the reservoir with water. That was my big mistake on this one. Like, it took 10 days for enough water to wick in to fill up the reservoir. This one will already be full. So I'm just going to take a water hose and fill it up. Put soil on top. Let that water wick up into the soil. We'll fill that, start the creek. The creek will not wick water into the soil from the top unless we put sand and silt in and put it over the top. Wherever we connect the sand and the silt to the soil is where it'll wick water. So over here we have it connected in multiple places. Here, over here, you can see all this grass here. All this grass connects to the creek. All this grass wicks a tremendous amount of water up into there. It pulls this moisture. You can see the worm castings. That rich black soil. That's a worm. Those are worm castings. Look at that. You can break them up into little nuggets, but we don't want to smash them. When we smash them, they turn into mud. And mud does not let air flow through. That's why we get a swamp. And we don't want a swamp in here. We want aeration. So aeration is key in the soil, and that's how we get it. The critters, the nature does it for us. The worms will do it for us. All the little critters running around down there, the isopods, the rogue beetles, earwigs, little mini Johnnies running around down there, tearing shit up. As long as it's cycling with the microbes, and then you're getting into the nematodes and the protozoas, and you can get all the way to the bacteria and fungi. Once we get to that level, it's on like Donkey Kong. We don't have to do anything. Sit back and steward. Like, make sure the creek stays flowing. Make sure our plants stay aerated. And other than that, it's smooth sailing. Top off the pond every once in a while. It's regular maintenance, just like an aquarium. Just like you would have anything that you would bring indoors. It's regular maintenance. Nothing is set and forget. You got to feed your fish and your turtles every once in a while. You've got to, if I didn't come in here and pluck things and prune things, this place would be overtaken. Look at this thing. I think we measured 27 inches from up here to down there. Yeah, it's a monster. And it just keeps coming. Like, it's literally almost to the edge of the thing. Look at that. It's stupid. And it ain't even got any light over here. Somebody mentioned an aloe plant here today. I was like, I got aloe. Look at that. My aloe plant right there. Doing great back there with no light. Aloes really don't like a lot of light. In fact, I noticed that it hates light. The more light I put in there, the more light it got, the worse it did. Appreciate it, Perry's Reef. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody. Afraid of a blowout. Well, I don't understand what you mean by a blowout. Like, there's no way it could blow out. We have an access point here. So if you're wondering about where, if we have, this will fill up with water. And when it does, we don't really have to do anything but plant plants. Because we cut these, when we go to cut all these, when we cut all those plants out, water is going to rush down into our reservoir, into our E-horizon, and that will fill up with water down there. But as soon as we transplant, so the same day I cut, I'm transplanting my little cutlings, or my little seedlings that I've already got going. So basically, the same day I cut, I'm planting, and in like about maybe 5 to 10 days, when those plants root in, you'll see this dry up. And that's how I know that the wicking system is working. That's a sure indication that the system is doing what it's supposed to do. So the plants are taking the water, transpiring it up into my atmosphere here. I'm grabbing it with the dehue and the mini split. The dehue is dumping about 2 gallons of water back into the creek every day. So that's our top off. And usually only when I need to put water into the pond is when I go to cut, like when all that water rushes down and it's not being put back into when I don't have plants in here. Basically, the dehue doesn't work as hard when I don't. But now that I have all these elephant ears, I've got all this other vegetation now. My bush is growing like crazy. As long as all that stays, good, this stuff like this bush is purposefully in here because it's giving me the microbiology in the root system. It never dies. It doesn't care if I'm in 12 hours of light or 8 hours of light or 18 hours of light. Same with the elephant ears. They're huge solar panels. They don't care. None of the grasses care. No, nothing in here cares that when I go from 18 to 12. So all your other grasses, like all your other cover crops, die off, and then you got to replant. We don't have to replant anything because these are all evergreens, it's bushes, it's trees, these roots are going deep and forming bigger and more wide, vast mycorrhizal fungi connections, I guess you should say. You need roots for that mycorrhizal fungi to connect. The cannabis plant can't do that because the cannabis is in and out. So those roots are going to get eaten. As soon as I cut, those roots down there get destroyed, get eaten, gone, everything's gone. But these roots, the grass roots, all that stays, all that connects. These roots, once these get back in and connected, they easily connect. They can easily take off super fast. They just connect themselves to everything else around and take off. We don't have to do any type of, anything. Maybe a foliar feed with some FAA and some WCC, some water-soluble calcium. Yeah, everything's coming from the pond and creek. There is no external water source. Everything gets wicked. All that water is getting wicked. The excess water, that's how I know it dries up. When it dries up, my E-horizon, and this down here dries up, all the plants start feeding from it dries up because that water is being utilized by the plants. It isn't making it to the E-horizon. So it's being wicked up by these huge plants. When I cut the plants, all that excess water goes down, sits in our E-horizon outside of the soil layer so that soil doesn't go anaerobic. We need to keep that soil separate from the reservoir. That's what the clay layer over here is for. So the clay layer separates the well water from the soil, basically. If we were going to drill a well, we would go through organic soil and then clay and then rock till you get to the water table. Same principle. We're trying to get to that water table, but we're separating that soil from the water table. Yeah, I can tell you that in living soil and anything like this, bigger is better. These critters that we're using to cycle nutrients need space. They need an area. They need, a water source. I'm not saying it ain't doable. It's going to be more of a challenge. You're going to have to definitely feed your plant. You know what I mean? You're going to have to feed it. Here I have so much volume and so much nutrient already in the soil, already being broken down with the sand and the silt and the clays. Once the biology starts working starts breaking down that nutrient, it's plug and play for me in this big system. It's 12 foot long by 9.5 foot wide. It's about 250 gallons of water. The DHU's pumping 2.5 gallons every day back into the system. So, it's a pretty simple system if you set it up right. And I found that bigger is better. Although this is a smaller area, but yet it's still pretty big. And the lights are getting ready to go out in here, so I do have the other lights that stay on, so we can actually stay in here for an extra 15 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like in the dark in here because those, we keep the UVAB lights and the heat lamp on for 15 minutes after the lights go out. I want to make sure this is running. I haven't heard it turn on in a minute. That's what I thought. It's full. So this is another problem I've had. This line here is not releasing the water. And what's happening is it just puts it in this container here and shuts that off. So that means our humidity is going to go up. If the dehu stays off for about an hour, 2 hours, the humidity jumps up to about 80. And that's where it likes to hover. It likes to seem to stay around 80. All I really have to do though, shoot that down real quick, is open up the door here. There we go. Speaking of that, I'll go ahead and open up the door since I can't take that out with, actually, you know what? We've got this new stand here. So I can just set this here. Put this up here. I'm going to go back there and get that. The only problem now, I got to walk around the hole down. There we go. All right, lights out. Yeah, it's a detached garage. Yeah, just a few steps out the back door. Hello, fools. Yeah, I just step right out the back door and walk right into here, pretty much. I just wanted to show you how much light that actually puts off. Like, look at that UVA and UVB light that actually fills up. So that's running all the time when the lights are on. So the bed is getting some UV light pretty much all the way over to about this corner here, but all day long these plants over here are getting a little UV. But according to Dr. Bruce Bugsby, UV does not influence terpene production. What does influence terpene production is light, energy. It takes energy to produce terpenes, and light is the only source for the energy. wakes up. The longer we keep the light on, that's why he pushes high light intensity. I find that's not what I like to do. Like, I only like high intensity light till about maybe a week. Maybe for a week when the buds are in here, maybe just forming, I'll kick that red on, get that PPFD up around 1,000. But they just do not like it. I see light stress, I see purple stems, but that doesn't mean that the terpene production, the plant is doing all that to protect itself. So is that producing more terps? I don't know. We're going to find out though. I'm going to wait to hit them with that until they're actually throwing terpene. I'm not going to do it I'm not going to stress them out like that when there are no buds on them. But when they do get some buds, we're gonna stress them a little bit. Yeah, well, that's what I love. These are 1,500 watts a piece. These are freaking Ferraris of lights. The driver takes up, that's the centerpiece there, that's the driver. That whole thing is the freaking driver. Look how big it is. Takes the whole light. Yeah, these are Grandmaster LEDs. So I'm running the 4-channel version. So I have 4 different channels. That's the cool white, warm white, red, far red, or deep red, whatever you want to say. And we keep track of all that over here. You can't see that right now. The lights are out. But look how much UV light spreads across that room. Most of that is directly down at the pond. So that's where the turtles get their UVA and B light. We're going to get 3 more lights for over here. 3 more Grandmasters. Boom. There's going to be 1 down there, 1 here, and 1 over here in the corner. Skipping the pond. We don't need a light over the pond, just like over here. 1, 2, 3. We don't need a light over the pond. So we're going to put rails up, just like we did over here. So these are movable. We can slide those any way we want. So we can put them on rail. I do lose quite a bit of space there, but I don't want a bigger plant than that. I mean, I'm 6'2", so that's gonna be, those are big plants, and I don't want to have to go to the ceiling really. So hopefully we like to keep them small. That's the whole point of keeping that blue on most of the time, all throughout veg, pretty much just keeping that cool blue and that warm white. Boom. Keeps them short. Then when you kick that red on, when we flip the flower, you can see it stretch almost on day 2. By day 5, which is today, definitely the stretch is on. I mean, we got 2 months to go. I mean, geez, things will be up in there. You know what I mean? So we get crazy. That's why we only veg for like a month, like 33 days, I think we did. No, I don't feed anything in flower. If I do anything, I'll foliar feed with some water soluble calcium. Week 2, week 3. I'm in week 1 right now, and I've already done it once. But I think the water soluble calcium is extremely important, because calcium is what these flowers are going to want. Everything else is in the soil. Calcium, we can foliar feed, quick boosts, immediately available, and after week 4 or 5, nothing, just let them go. So alright guys, we're coming up on an hour. I appreciate everybody hanging out. I appreciate everybody hitting the like button if you don't mind. It helps the algorithm. But catch us tomorrow on the video, tomorrow morning's video. We'll be out there bright and early. So we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.